Peace to the family, peace to the guys. What we waiting for? Gold just hit an all-time high. Now, recently, I just did Bermuda's first financial literacy summit, in which I spoke to a large crowd, and I gave them the blueprints. Yes, we talked about sweet gold. Gold is AKA God's money. They call it God's money because gold is real. Man did not make gold. Man just enjoys gold. He tries to live his life so that he can enjoy the golden ages of his life. Gold has been mined for thousands of years because there was an understanding of the metaphysical properties of gold and the power of that gold. And today, here we are, right? Where gold itself has reached a new all-time high at $4,000, right? Now, I've been teaching on gold for the last probably I would say 5-7 years straight. You understand me? Gold. All right, so hold on. Let's get this. Hold on, sister. Hold on, sister. Wait a minute now. Peace. You say, what happened to Bitcoin? Bitcoin just reached a all-time high as well. Bitcoin just hit 125,000. So when I travel around the world, hold on, let me put my gold glasses on. We're going gold today. When I travel around the world and I teach people about gold, right? I remember when I was in Toronto, I did one of my greatest breakdowns about gold. You understand me? The bundle pack is $44 today because gold hit an all-time high at 4,000. So I'm not going to give y'all what I really should be giving y'all for that. So this right here is gold, right? At one point in time, and to this day, we were selling these, right? And everybody who bought them, right, they increased in value, right? This is for the last 2-3 years. We've been having these available because we've been trying to teach people how to buy assets. Now, when I was in Bermuda, I was talking to the people on the island, and I'm explaining to them, right, how Indian women are the largest holders of gold, right? Indian women are the largest holders of gold, not because they're taught to buy gold, but because it's traditional. You feel me? And so, fortunately for them, as gold goes up, so does their household value, whether they're holding it in jewelry or not, because they're usually buying the gold and they got the rings, they got the bangles, they got the necklaces, etc. Now, in our culture, we're taught to buy diamonds, right? Diamonds have not been increasing, right, in value and making us more valuable, right, and increasing our net worth. It's actually the opposite. And I actually suggest you all go buy the lab-grown diamonds, because if you just want the shine, get the shine. You feel me? Go buy lab-grown diamonds, but go buy real gold. Then put the lab-grown diamonds in the real gold if you want the real shine. That's the way it works. Now, there's multiple ways that you can go about buying gold. There's multiple ways that you can go about buying different asset classes, right? Bitcoin is a very powerful one because it just keeps going up. You can always buy it in Satoshis, which means you can buy little fractional pieces of it without having to buy the whole thing. The reason that we've been telling people to buy gold all this time is because it's a logical conclusion to a world of uncertainty, right? That these asset prices will continue to rise because they're actually trying to make these asset prices, right, so expensive that you can't afford them in the future. And in the future, as this thing goes up to, let's say gold hits $10,000 an ounce, right, which is roughly around 1.4 million a whole entire bar, right? And so if you bought a kilo years ago and it cost you $44,000, right now that kilo is somewhere around $100,000 to make. On the same. So now you up 60% just by buying the gold, holding it, looking good with it, doing nothing else, right? Yes, you can go buy gold at Sam's Club. You can insure your gold, right? You can make sure that you get it priced so you know the actual value of it. There's ways you can trade gold. You can buy it at different buoyants, right? There's so many different things that you can do. And it's not even just around gold. It's around assets, period, right? And understanding why these prices are rising, right? And why gold will continue to rise up in the first place. So why is Bitcoin going up, right? Why is gold going up? As we are going into more phases of uncertainty, people don't actually know what the future is, right? It's not a really good sign a lot of time for the market because the market continues to go up too. Continue the NASDAQ reaching all new all-time highs, right? AI just continues to go up as companies, NVIDIA buy chips here, OpenAI buy these chips, OpenAI gives money to Microsoft, and it just becomes consistent circle, right, to where the money just continues to flow and flow and flow, right? And the thing about Black America is they put out these statistics that said that it predicts that we'll have 0% wealth because they were basically tracking our net worth, saying that if we don't own gold, right, then that means that, or not even just gold, but if we don't own assets, then by 2053, it'd be at zero. Now, we know we broke that up, right? Being one of the founding fathers of this financial literacy movement, right, helping getting this sparked, we got a lot of our people to start buying assets, right? They buying Bitcoin, they buying gold, right, buying land, etc. So therefore, they're able to have ownership because ownership is the only rule of the future, right? If you don't own anything of the future, you become a slave of the future because those who own will enslave everybody else. And what do I mean by that? It means that you will forever be stuck. You understand me? Because you will not be able to afford these things. And the income is not increasing fast enough as the asset prices, so that by the time you think that you're ready, it will be too late. This is why they're introducing, like on Robinhood, fractional ownership. Getting to the point where, let's say you can't buy a full gold bar, right? But the family is taking 20, 30% of its value or its income rather monthly, and they're buying into Bitcoin, they're buying into land, they're buying into gold, they're buying into art, anything that will go up, right? And so when you fractionalize or tokenize ownership, right, you're putting a particular value to each token, and then you're buying in those tokens, which represent your ownership. So they're even doing this with houses. Now, y'all remember what happened with NFTs a few years ago, right? I said 90% of the projects will fail, though I said that there's going to be an adoption of the technology itself because the technology has continued to be valuable. A lot of people dismiss that part, right? But now we're at that stage where people are still using NFTs. They're not using NFTs to collect. They're using NFTs in real estate right now. Why are they doing this? Because there are firms out there that allow you to be able to collectively come together. Let's say you got a friend group of 20 people and y'all want to go buy a, commercial real estate property. You want to go get you a multi-home property that's going to be making a certain amount of money every month. And you can't afford to buy it by yourself. You go with your friend group. Each person puts up a certain dollar amount, right, which represents the amount of equity they have in their project. Now, let's say, well, I don't know who I can trust. That's even great because you don't have to trust anybody in the group, right? The technology itself will split up, right, the profits between the group automatically each month. So this is allowing people who never interacted with crypto before, never interacted with the blockchain before, don't know anything about a goddamn NFT, yet they're owning property because contractually it's theirs when they put in their percentage, and now every month they're getting their payout automated. It's a change of the game. It's a change of the guards. So what we bring it back right now, number one, we are bringing and building with highly aligned individuals, right? If you don't have a friend group, find you a tribe, right? Find you a community, right? And when I mean by community, we've been focusing on building out this high-level nation on the back end. People keep asking the keys, like, what's the thing, what's the thing, what's the thing? And so I want a highly aligned conscious community, right? Well, let's say a community of consciousness. I don't want to use the term conscious community. To where I don't want people that are negative in a group. You understand me? I don't want people that are not aligned with the same mission, vision, and values, right? We will actually exclude you and will rather you leave right, and never come in. I don't want people who have a doubt, right, in what we can and what we cannot do, right? If you bring any of that energy into the group, you feel me, you will be kicked out. Because I need to work with highly aligned people who want to move forward on the same goals. If I say we want to build us an alternative city, we want to go buy farmland and build large communities, I don't want to hear what happened in Black Wall Street, right? If we are moving together and we're pouring our money into one thing, I don't want to hear what happened with Jay Morrison. You understand me? I just don't want to hear none of that. If that is you, then all you have to do is stay out of it, right? So you bring any of your biases, any of your negativity to the group, you just get kicked out. Doesn't mean that you can't have a place to speak. But what I mean by that is I don't want you poisoning the rest of the people. Yes, we're going to need urban planners, economists, architects, right? Real estate developers, people who own land, understand land. We're going to need people of all different points because we want to build a digital nation. And this digital nation requires people of different skill sets. You understand me? But what happens on social media is a dangerous place because I even get to the point where I feel like you might have to turn off your comments and just get rid of people. And what I mean by that is social media rewards people for negativity. So now it has become a machine of propaganda and bots. So you're not getting people's true belief. People are at home, people at different levels of income. And so they're spreading, right, their beliefs on you, poisoning, right, your ideas, poisoning your well, and everybody's drinking from that. And that's what they want to do. So social media is a dangerous place because we're always kind of trying to destroy each other instead of coming on here with positivity and optimism and righteousness, as my brother Hassan says, and building with each other, right? And so that's the only spaces that I want to build, spaces of higher consciousness. If you want to just get money, but you're not seeking a path of higher consciousness, then you cannot be a part of that group as well. Now, again, you are free to choose to be a part of something and not to be a part of something, right? But we are operating from the collective intelligence, right? Because in the age of artificial intelligence, what is happening is we're actually going into a higher spiral. And most people can't see it because we're thinking of the negatives of what's happening in the world, right? And so when we think about technology, you're thinking it from a negative perspective, you're going to lose. Because you're going to miss the bigger picture. Human beings have been forced to do labor for other human beings for thousands and thousands of years. This means that most people never get to reach their potential because they started off at a lower spiral, right? They started off at a lower class, right? This class consciousness has been a war upon, eons, centuries, right? For a very long time. We've been trying to break out of this class consciousness spell. And anytime we do, what happens is those who are considered to be the elite, what they do is they sprinkle division amongst the people to divide them. So it takes them off their focus. So therefore, the class consciousness spell has never been broken. So you always have people at the bottom that are the lower, those who don't have that much consciousness, those who are stuck in the survival, who never get to the point of actualizing, right? So now that you cannot actualize, right, you cannot live fully. Therefore, the collective human beings, as human beings, we don't move forward. There's different spheres on this planet Earth. One of them is called the noosphere. The noosphere is the sphere of thinking. It's the sphere of consciousness on this planet Earth, right? You got the ionosphere, stratosphere, biosphere. You learn about these things in school. But the sphere of consciousness that rules, similar to a person would think about the cloud of the internet, that became a whole new thing, right? But when we're talking about human consciousness and trying to supersede where we currently are, and as we're studying technology, what we're looking at is a new evolution of human beings. Because what happens is human beings continue to go to complexity, right? From boson particles to atoms to cells. Those cell forms into becoming whole human beings. And each level, right, there's a higher level of complexity that evolves. Human beings have been stuck, right, experiencing physical reality and dreaming, right, in the noosphere, dreaming in the idea, right, of, what could be, but never being able to actualize that into reality. So we've been sold collective visions of where to put our minds at, like the American dream. They force fed you an idea of reality. Get a car, get a house, get a family. And then while you were busy dreaming, they stole that dream from you. And now that's not possible because, right, the car and the house is so expensive, you have to spend most of your life just working for it. Then they throw extra interest on top of that. Then they throw taxes on top of that, right? Then you have maintenance on top of that because they're not making them as good as they can, so that you have to continue to buy into a system. This is the matrix itself, right? It makes you feel like you're winning while having to maintain and maintenance that win forever. So you end up getting to a certain point of life, and then the rest of your life is just working to stay there, not to continue to ascend, right? And so the human collective is tired. The human collective is trying to accelerate the end of this cycle in reality. Right? Human beings are tired of systems. Even the evil are tired of the systems. They're trying to accelerate the downfall. Everybody's actually working to the same goal, but by different means. Because while one person is working for the downfall of democracy, systems, institutions, they still want to be the ones who run whatever the next system is. While the other ones want it to end because it feels like a nightmare that's on repetition that they can't get out of because they haven't learned the lesson of the current cycle. So here we are, as a collective, all fighting for the next stage of evolution. Then here comes technology. Technology is going to reach a point where we're going to be in consistent awe of it. But we can't believe our eyes. We can't believe the things that it's able to do, how it's able to spit out our imagination infinitely. And we're going to go from this state of unease into a state of just awe, drawing inspiration from it. And once we get there, the focus won't be how do I hoard attention, but how do I control my own attention? Because there's so many things for us to give our attention away to. Then it will change the game from companies trying to just steal your attention to them actually trying to help you protect it, control it, harness it, focus it, to be in a constant state of calm, to calm your nervous system. Because it will start focusing on a cognitive renaissance, right? Where we're focused on the quality of consciousness while we're living, because everything else will be done for us. But imagine being in a state of anxiety while living in a utopia. It's no longer a utopia, is it? Not until your consciousness is cleansed, right? And so the focus is, how do we unify systems to create harmonic convergence, right? To where just a small group of people focusing on the same thing intensifies the willfulness and the ability to manifest that into reality, right? Hundreds and thousands of times over than when a single individual does it. It's sort of like when Goku was always fighting against impossible odds, and he would do a spirit bomb, and he would collect the spirit of the collective. And that allowed him, even though he was pulling from beings that he was infinitely stronger than, he could also defeat beings that were infinitely stronger than him. And that's where we are today. Because as we create these machines and they do things to where, like yesterday, OpenAI just released a SDK agent builder, which allows you to chain stitch and automate all of these apps into one, where you can build apps. You can go from asking the AI what to do, right, or asking the AI questions and inquiring and being inquisitive with the AI, to telling it what to do and it doing it for you. So this is where we go as human beings, so where we interact with this internet, and this internet is giving us information. Instead, we're now telling and talking to the phone to execute for us. Hey phone, can you do this? Hey AI, can you do that? Right? And so now our ideas are no longer limited by our own laziness, because now we have the machines to do the physical labor for us. But the mental task is still there. the ability to get into deep work, to chunk blocks, right? To where your attention is focused on concentration, which is a prolonged period of focus, right? To manifest things into reality. Because as I've said at the beginning of this AI thing, what happens when you have the smartest people in the world working for you? What will you tell them to do? What will you tell them to do? Do you have big enough orders for it? Or your own willfulness and dreams are too small that the utility of the machines has outpaced the imagination and the will of the human being? Because otherwise you will waste the very abilities of the machine. You have a genius working for you, but does your mind imaginative enough? Because you don't have to be smarter than the person working for you, but your imagination has to be great. What can you imagine now? Because what happens is when you put a globe in a collective survival mode, their imagination becomes stifled. Because they're thinking about what they need to do instead of what they want to do. So now by the time they get a tool that can actually do whatever they want it to do, they actually don't have something for it to do. Now, this is the great dilemma that we currently face in society, right? The increasing of consciousness to a point. And so many people we're so stuck in our own lives that we can't see that we are in a world so far beyond last year, so far beyond 2020, so far beyond the 1990s, the 80s, the 70s, that world no longer exists, and we're living in the imagination of scientists. We're living in the imagination of scientists. And if you want to get the highest level of resources on this planet Earth, the highest level of power, you aggregate and you bring all those resources together. Because chain stitching AIs is it's like taking one smart person, connecting them to another resource, right? And then seeing what they build together. Peace to the God, Yusuf. But the problem is that human beings are not unified. We all have gifts, skills, and talents. Our gifts, skills, and talents are used in competition with each other, not in collaboration with each other. If they were in competition, if they were in cooperation and collaboration, it was strong bonds. Each bond, right, as we're pulling towards each other, has a magnetic force. That magnetic force allows you to have a stronger electrical attractive energy. The closer the bond, the more the attractive energy, right? Because although we're being pulled together, there's a slight force that is also pushing us apart, just in the law of magnetism. So in between that is creating heat, right? It's creating electricity. And so when human beings are collectively bonded together, highly aligned as communities, those bonds become powerful. It's similar to looking at an atomic bomb. That atomic bomb is taking and cracking those atoms and creating vast explosions more powerful than anything. But what happens if that's done on a constructive level? And you think about the vast destructive power of an atom bomb. But now think about the opposite. Imagine if that power was, instead of destructive, it was constructive. That it built worlds instead of destroyed worlds. And it took the world that it was and replaced it with a better one. That is precisely what the power of unity has the ability to do. Now, if we want to look at a close example of this, we would look at rural China, places that were just rice farms. In these spaces that were just rice farms, over the last 10, 20 years, they've been able to turn these into technological centers of the world. How did they do it so fast? Because everybody got aligned. They understood who their enemy was, which is the West. And although they had their old ways, they allowed those old ways, right, to be dominated with new thought. They was able to create more millionaires and billionaires than ever, all through unity. And they did it within a span of like 10 years, 10, 20 years, I would say. China wasn't what it is today, but look at it what it is now. It's collective empowerment. Now, we as a people, let's say black people, because even when we count that 1.7 trillion, we're not even counting our brown brothers and sisters in there. We have the power of a nation. We have the power of a nation, a small country, or a large country, I would say. Large as France or any other country you can think of. The only thing that we haven't done is we haven't structured and created infrastructure with those resources and knowledge. There was a stat that came out that 300,000 black women have lost their jobs. Okay, who are they going to work for now? Who are they going to work for now? All of that knowledge, some of them are system builders. Some of them are designers, organizers, right? They have great skill and great ability, but who are they going to work for now? See, if we can organize that human resource, right? Hold on one second. If we could organize that human resource, then how fast could we build our own alternative systems? Every time we look at something, there's two ways to look at it. We can look at it from the negative. The negative is an invert way of thinking about things, right? We can say, oh my God, they lost those jobs. Or we can say, oh my God, we just gained new workforce. The problem is that us as men, we have to do better because, and us as a black nation, if you will, have to do better because when we see an opportunity, we should be able to scoop them up, right? And say, okay, we can use that to power our nation. We now have AI tools that allow you to optimize human performance by 50 to 100%. Meaning that if you're paying somebody $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year, right? You should be able to get $120,000, right? Or $80,000 worth for that person between however much you pour into them. If you're working a job for somebody and you're not doubling their money, right? Then you're wasting their money and they should get rid of you. It's that simple of where we at today in life. Because by learning AI, you should be able to optimize your position that you have, which gives you job security. But if you're working for people just to collect a check, you're robbing them, right? Therefore, they have to make a business decision. If getting rid of you saves them money and makes them money, right, then they should get rid of you. Because human beings no longer want, not all of us, but a lot of human beings no longer want to work. They just want to extract value but not add to it, right? And so this is also going to be a great downfall of the workplace, right? And the human resource, because human beings no longer want to work at a high level. Those who do that are still passionate about what they do and still are learning, those are the ones of us that are still evolving. And those who are evolving, you understand me? Those who are growing, those who are learning, those who are developing in their consciousness and their gifts, their skills, and their talent, those are the ones that are worthy of still working with and for other human beings. The rest of the labor force would be destroyed. Not because they have to, it's because it's your will as well. Otherwise, you would work differently at your job. I've hired a lot of people and everybody doesn't know how to work to create value. People only think about doing one mundane task. It's like you're not even a human being. It's like you're a low-level robot. Because a high-level robot, we know, will be doing above and beyond. They will be thinking about the bottom line, right? How do I continue to increase value here? But a low-level human being will just grab a job and say, how do I get paid at the end of the day? Do just enough, and that's it. So therefore, You never get a raise. You never get promoted. You never have an opportunity to gain equity. You never can become a partner in a company, right? You can never develop your own because you don't even learn the lessons how to be a good worker, so you don't know how to be a good leader. I worked so many jobs over my lifetime since I was a child before working for myself, and I'm still mastering the working for myself part. And this is not for everybody. It is not, the idea of just working for yourself as an individual has been thrown out there a lot, right? As if it is the ultimate goal, when it is not. Working with a collective group of people is the ultimate goal. I want to work with a collective group, right, of people on ideas, and each one plays their role to a point of mastery. And eventually evolve out of your role because you've trained somebody up or you created a system to do it. So now you can move forward in something else. And then that system just continues to grow and evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve. As I'm building, when I'm building on the back end, I want to work with many people who have specific skills in tech and UI. We're looking for people that are good in user interface right now. People who are good at systems organization. You understand me? People who are good at AI to work on these projects that can get equity in the project and not just want to get monetary value. Because maybe one day we will be paying in gold. But are you worth your weight in gold? Now, when we used to say that worth your weight in gold, gold was not worth as much. And people weigh a lot more now. People weigh a lot more, and gold is worth a lot more. You feel me? So it's hard to be worth your weight in gold nowadays, because everybody ain't worth their weight in gold. You feel me? So what we doing with our nation building right now is going to allow us to take all the ideas that we've ever had, and we're going to be able to consolidate them in one, right? And this project is going to be so big, it's hard to even articulate everything, right? But just imagine millions of people, right, being organized in one system to be able to produce goals out instantly, where things no longer take months, years. You understand me? Because the systems and the institutions are so good. So working with the people that I've been working with behind the scenes, I'm going to be sharing with you all over this coming week exactly what we're doing and how you can be a part of it. But it's essentially us building out Zion while the matrix is getting stronger. It's a very simple thing to think about. But as we watch these assets go up, land, gold, right? As we watch the Bitcoin fly up, right? As we watch every other community take advantage of artificial intelligence and build systems to where you can literally build apps and anything that you have as an idea and make millions, if not billions of dollars instantly. I always have a question to our community: what are we waiting for? And I've learned that it's now or never. Right? So we're going to buy the land. That's going to be one of our first projects, is buying the land and building a community together. But my goal is to build an alternative city. I want to build a new city of the future. You have to have, right, a goal that's big enough for a collective group of people to work on. But first, we start off as a digital nation network. And as that digital nation, right, we're able to do anything that we want to in the physical world if we have that highly aligned, highly organized community. That's the goal. So before you get in, we're going to be doing, and I'm going to start it off with some people at a high level, because I've been working with some people. We did a pilot program of, hold on, let me take this gold out. I was just feeling myself today. We did a pilot program of working with some people within our nation, taking them with us, right? So we have a Van to Black program. So let's say that you are an entrepreneur that is doing somewhere around 6 to 7 figures per year, right? Only for high-level entrepreneurs. This is not creators and things of that nature. This is not for everybody. But I think I have resources, and I know I have resources that the actual average person would never be able to get. And when I started thinking about that, I said, damn, I walk into rooms that it might take a person a lifetime to get into. So what happens if we create a program that allow people to walk in those rooms with us? So we have people that have businesses and programs. So now when they walk in that room, they're able to network with our network, right? So now they're able to skip steps, right? Then we're able to work with people to help grow their business and focus on their positioning in the marketplace. Because most people, I think that they have great value, but they don't have good positioning. What is the positioning that you own in the marketplace? When somebody thinks of you, do they think of one word, right? And when you think about that person, do you know how to brand yourself, market yourself, and create you a world around it? Brother King Coconut said, I'm mad cocky. I don't know if you gay or not, but that sounds like something that a gay man will worry about. You understand me? Now, back to the subject at hand. So when you're thinking about building, you want to be able to get access to a network outside your own. You want to be able to get access to resources outside your own. But how do you position it to where you can, when people know you in the marketplace, you have your positioning, you're able to create that content, right? You're able to monetize that content. Then that becomes a system, and then that becomes this infinite loop for growth, right? But the problem is that there's certain places you can't go to unless you know certain people, right? Because people are more valuable than money, right? So for me, I'm working with so many different people all the time, but I'm like, damn, how do I help people go to that next level? Because I think all they might be missing is a stage. All they might be missing is an introduction. And then beyond that, I know a lot of different things myself that I've been able to build out in my own world, right? That when I take and teach these models and these frameworks and these blueprints to other people to sit there and learn from them, right? Then I have the ability, right, to help them grow and duplicate myself. So we've been working on a pilot program like that, and it's been successful thus far. The young man that we've been working with, man, he's been able to get some incredible contacts, and I think it's going to eventually help his business go up 100% this year, right? And I'll show you all, let's say towards the end of the year, the testimonial of that, right? But I really want, and I'm working with some other businesses now that I know that they're raising money, but I know that I can walk them into rooms, get them into interviews, introduce them to people, and help them position themselves in a marketplace, right, to where they can eventually have a business that grows to a 7 to 8 figure business. That's the beauty of creating a high level nation. But again, that's only for people that's doing 6 to 7 figures. You know what I mean? Because you also have to be able to afford to travel with us as we're moving about. Because if you can't take all the opportunities, they're not going to be worth it. But then you also get to sit in console with me as well. And I'm teaching you my frameworks and game that you're learning. Right? So this is a beautiful program, and we're going to start at the top first. Then we're going to work our way to start bringing people in. But we're starting at the top with the most highly aligned entrepreneurs because I can't work with everybody. And the reason I say that, it's not my personal feelings, it's just alignment. If we don't have good alignment, I can't work with you. Like if we're moving and you're traveling with us and we're bringing you into opportunities, right? I can't have you disrespecting an opportunity. You can't be sitting at the table ordering pork, you understand me, while you in counsel with the gods. It don't work like that. You feel me? Like you can't be too thirsty as you're moving. You have to develop a level of confidence, and we'll teach you as we're going along. But you also have to come in locked in and understanding the culture that you're stepping into, right? Because you're not going to be embarrassing me, messing up my resources. But if you are ready to take that next step in life, those opportunities will be available to you. And I just use that pork as an example because some people will come around you and be like, well, you know, matter of fact, if you eat pork, I don't even want you around me. Not in my close circle. Like, if you can't make that sacrifice, then I can't make the sacrifices because what I will be introducing you and teaching you and leveling you up towards will be way more valuable than some diet that you can't get rid of. So if you still got that pork on your breath, you understand me? You can't come around. That's lower consciousness. I can't work with a person like that. Like, it's just certain non-negotiables. You feel me? It's certain non-negotiables. You ain't gotta like it. Don't matter. But I think everybody needs to be very real about it. And as you're on social media, you need to get very real and very transparent on who you are attracting on these apps. Because your goal is to be as honest as possible, be as real as possible, so you're attracting the right people. Followers are dead. Social media itself is dead. Social media is now a playground for psyops. Everything on here is trying to control your mind and control your consciousness, right? It's already been stressed by the military and other governments. That's what they're using it for. They bought these apps up, right? And every single day it starts to feel like we're chasing this algorithm. You say that's judgmental? Yeah, you wouldn't make it. You wouldn't make it around me. We don't do that. I grew up in a militant environment. We don't do that. All that judgmental, that's softness that you're talking about. You understand me? That's softness. I had a sister said she was gonna unfollow me because I was dropping. She was in my group, my free group, and I had broke down some of my keyism. She said, "Keyism? What's keyism?" She said, "I Googled that and I didn't see it." She said, "I don't like it. It feels like you're putting yourself on a pedestal." You understand me? She said Malcolm X wouldn't have done that. She said that's not in the. She said it reminds me of like, Buddhism or something. And I'm like, first of all, this is the problem why a lot of people never succeed in life, because they don't think of themselves as high enough. We exalt the past while we disrespect the present. There's nothing in the past that make it more special than those people believing in themselves. There were philosophers of the past. How come we can't compare ourselves to a philosopher of the past? Why? Because they're gone? Right? If somebody created a tradition of the past, how come you can't create you a tradition now? It doesn't make this. Are we saying that the human beings today are less evolved, less powerful? Right? I don't live by the steps of everything that Malcolm did. I'm living in 2025. He lived in the 1960s and 50s. Different era, different time, different rules, different world, different life. You understand me? Every day we're quoting somebody's book, right? We're quoting people all the time. And the problem has become is people forgot that they can quote themselves. You are free to produce your own reality. You have free will to produce your own perspective on life, your own philosophies on life that other people can then use. You don't have to wait till you die for people to respect you. The problem is that the line is so low for most people. You understand me? I think you should put yourself on a pedestal in a world that doesn't even believe in themselves. You should step a little higher than them. They're trying to get you to think like a slave, while the people who run the world positions themselves high above. And then the rest of the class consciousness is just hoping that they get to live their life without changing their frequency. You got to change your frequency. So producing the keyism was more so about having conscious sovereignty where you can control and own your own thought and attention and mind. But there's a way to think. And once you start thinking in this flow and thinking in this manner, you take on a higher level of ascension. I don't want to stay where everybody is. I'm not trying to be equal to everybody. Because many people treat themselves low. And if you're equal to the lowest person, then you are low yourself. So who are you trying to be equal to? The highest person or the lowest? Even God exalts prophets. He exalts men above other men, women above other women. Equality is just an idea that makes people who are at the bottom feel comfortable with not having the aspiration to become more. And equality in the sense that you treat people how you want to be treated on a human level, but that doesn't mean you can't evolve beyond them. It's similar to a king treating a peasant with respect. Doesn't mean one is not royal and has power and dominion and can control armies and economies and has to make decisions that will make the average peasant mind, you understand me, want to off themselves. But this king is different. The king has mental peace within. The king has control. The king has to think with discernment. The king has to lead against impossible odds. That's the real separation. It's the responsibility between the peasant and the king. Are they equal in the sense that they're both alive? That they're both souls? Yes. But are they equal in responsibility on this earth and what they mean to others? No. What they will do, what they will leave behind? No. So do not allow the world to turn you into a peasant when you're really a king. Because when you stop believing you deserve something, you start sabotaging yourself anytime you start to gain anything more than that you think you deserve. Just think about that. Peace to the gods and the earths. So we living in a time, day, and age where human beings going to have to evolve beyond the ego, beyond the individual. Because I got news for you. Those who are building the tools, the systems, the protocol, the surveillance, the weapons, the worlds around you, they have exalted themselves even higher than God. Not that they are God. They've exhausted themselves in their own minds, in their own thinking that they are God. While you may just be trying to survive in their world. We're not trying to survive. We're working to thrive, to actualize. That is the position that we take. And that's how we will teach and respond in a high-level nation. If your goal is not to evolve into a higher level of consciousness, then do not apply when it is available to apply. Every system has to evolve, every form has to evolve, and you cannot be afraid to let go of the things that you no longer need. Otherwise, you disrespect the junctures in time. What I mean by that, yesterday we had a super moon. It reminds you to let go of things you do not need. Cycles remind you to let go of things because otherwise you'll be holding on to dead things that then you start carrying weight that makes you feel weak, but it's because you're carrying more than you need to. You're actually stronger than you've ever been, but you're holding on to unnecessary things and it's blocking your ability to produce reality. It's blocking your ability to produce thoughts into reality. So you become weakened because you're holding on to so much when there was a sign who and what and when you should have let go. The universe will not beg you to change. It will just show you when. And if you are conscious enough to know, to be present, you are always seeing the signs. There are no greater signs in the universe than the cosmos itself. But we stare at screens more than we do stars. We chase and we know more about celebrities than we do about celestial bodies. So we've lost our connection to the cosmos because it is always giving us alignment, showing us harmony, showing us when to let things go, when to pick things up, when to build, when to seed, when to harvest, when to invest. Somebody said the universe doesn't do anything. Only Jesus and Yahweh. The universe doesn't do anything. It is a very interesting idea within itself because you cannot build a civilization without understanding of the universe. The universe gives us law. It gives us order. It gives us structure. When the ancient Kemetic people, as they were in Kemet, the land of the blacks, They wanted to build civilization. They had to learn agriculture. They had to study the stars so that they would know when it was time to plant, when it was time to reap harvest. And by studying that and studying the movement, right, on the Nile River, they know when to plant. And by mastering that science, they was able to produce more crops, which means they was able to grow civilization to feed the people. Why do you think every ancient original people all across this planet Earth, some that did not know who Jesus was ever, yet they built whole civilizations and they lived and they died greatly? The universe does nothing. The universe goes through a solar cycle. We got a cosmic cycle that we go through. And it is the determinant of technological growth and evolution on this planet Earth. When you study the sun and you know the solar cycle as you track it every 11 years, it is showing you when a planet is heating up. It affects our heart rate. It affects our cerebral brain fluid, our consciousness itself. It pulls on our body. It pulls on our emotions. It pulls on the feminine energy on this planet Earth. And you can track economic growth, technological growth, shifts of consciousness on this planet Earth. The universe is always moving. It isn't working in perfect order. The universe is law. All we do is study the universe. It is not a word to replace God. It is a word that allows us to understand God, a unified system, and how all things have order, structure. Jesus, as great as he is, this melanated Palestinian revolutionary man, one can take a look at him as the sun itself. You can say that you don't believe in the universe, but you can survive longer without Jesus than you can without the sun. And that's no disrespect, but we need the sun. You can go take a civilization that never heard the word Jesus, but that same civilization without the sun, they cannot grow anything. So which son of God is important to the people to live in harmony with? See, Jesus itself, Christ itself is a consciousness on this planet Earth that one can obtain. He is a prototype, an archetype for every man to become, every woman to become, the consciousness to become. How does one break the class consciousness on the planet Earth? Well, be like Jesus and watch your empires fall. You cannot go without the sun. Because that yellow ball in the sky, that is the Son of God as well. That is the original Son of God. You know, in ancient tongue, you call him Ra. And before you say your prayers to Jesus, you will say, Amen, Ra. Amen. Who is that? It is important to know and understand the sun. See, it's why we have the sun, moon, and stars. We are always in alignment with the cosmos. We never disrespect the cosmos. Do I believe he was crucified? I'm sure, because many of those who are like Jesus today are being crucified. Many of those who stand against the Pharisees, that stand against, right, those who are committing evil amongst the people today are being crucified. Many of us are being crucified every single day. Show me everybody who has a similar representation of Jesus, and I'll show you a man who is being crucified. I'll show you it all the time. Persecuted and crucified by the very same people that crucified him. Yet we have not defeated the enemy of Jesus yet. I think you should focus on defeating the enemy of Jesus as much as you focus on praising him. Then you will find your answers to the world. Because how could you let even his people suffer, but you love him so much? How could you let his people suffer, yet you love him so much? Look at Palestine, suffering. Does it not ache the church that Palestine suffers? And that is where your prophet is from, where your God is from? I would imagine so. So arguing with people on social media, that's not how you praise your Messiah. That isn't how you do it. Be as your prophet. Be as your Savior. And enter into the mind of Christ and build the kingdom. Well, that might be a little too much for you, huh? There's no argument. I'm not arguing, we're just teaching here. But there are many ways to spread the gospel, and sometimes it's just by listening. Because listening is the first teacher. Do you know what it would be like if Jesus was around and he had an iPhone and he was talking to you on the screen? Could you recognize your Father? It's an interesting question, because what form would Jesus have to take in order for him to be loved in this time? What language would he have to speak for him to be accepted? What story would he have to tell? Which version of the story in order for him to be embraced? If he did the deeds that he did in the past, today, going against the very empires that are destroying the people, would he be supported? Would there be an army at his back, or would they watch him be crucified yet again? Well, this time, would you allow Jesus to be crucified, or would you fight with him, on the side of him? Was your repentance enough? And your greatest sin would be not standing with him while worshiping him. If he was to arrive in the very place that he was crucified, and he came out of Palestine, would he not yell, "Free Palestine"? Would he not fight against those who are destroying his own people in the place that he was born? Wouldn't his very home be being bombed right now? It is a very interesting question to ask when we want to start talking religion. Because then you have to get into politics, because the Bible is a very political book. I notice we don't get political enough. What color would he have to come back to in order for him to be your Savior? Most people don't speak Aramaic, and if Jesus said, "Assalamu alaikum," would he still be your Savior? If he prayed similar to how Muslims pray and the way they describe him in the Bible, would you consider that to be false? If he named his God as Allah in his tongue, would you still accept him? The skin color matters if he is a man. The language matters he's a man. Because how would you know your Savior if you don't know what he looks like? How could you understand your Savior if you can't speak his language? Maybe he has already arrived as a dark man speaking a foreign language. So to say something does not matter, yet to paint him in a blasphemous form, that is disrespectful. If color did not matter, you would accept him as a dark-skinned man. I have never seen a white man with the tattoo of a black Jesus. I've never seen a white man with a chain of a black Jesus. I've never seen a white church with a melanated Jesus. Ever. Yet his face does not matter. Yet you paint him in your color. But if he did not matter, then you would keep him as close to truth as you know the truth. Everything matters. For changing one color, one symbol, one direction changes what the truth is. Everything matters because it brings context to the story. It speaks to the people. It speaks to his tribe. It speaks to his place of beginnings. And maybe it would be harder for many to be Christians if they knew that they were praying to a black God. Then what does it mean for Christianity if you cannot accept a black God? It means that you're only comfortable in white supremacy. Because his people accepted him for who he was and what they seen him as, Yahweh. They accepted him for who and how he spoke in real time. But can you not accept a black God? Does that offend you? If a black God offends you, then you don't believe in Jesus. I'm saying following anything other than a black God is white supremacy. Because you are exalting the picture of whiteness and turning into the most superior image on the planet Earth. That is why so many of our brothers and sisters who are in churches now, so many of them have pictures of a white man on their sleeve because they have been mentally colonized. That is why churches in Africa bow down to a white man when they see them because they think that their God is white. And so when everything you create, they think is all right. Think about that. How could God be white if he wasn't even around? There was no white. So the color matters because the truth matters. And until we can be unified on what the truth is, then we will not collectively be able to move forward. Keys, what if you had white people DNA in you? Well, it's still my DNA. Where do you think they come from? There's no such thing as white people DNA. There's no such thing as a white people. White people is a term that was made up politically to divide class consciousness. That's all it is. What is white people? White people DNA. That doesn't even make sense. There is no white people. White people is a political group. You know what I'm saying? Like, You know what I'm saying? That's like asking black paint. What if you got some white paint mixed in there with you? Well, white paint. I absorbed it. I absorbed it. Yeah, black is a consciousness. Of course, I'm not black. Look at this. This is black. This is black. I'm a brown copper color man. Same color as Jesus. What are you talking about? Black is a consciousness. It's a consciousness of the people. Similar to the darkness of the universe in which everything comes from. It is a representation of the original. That's all. So anyway, I came on here to talk to y'all about gold, and somehow we got to this point. You understand me? But do y'all do anything like protecting women? Looks like Jasmine Crockett needs help. Listen, that's a very interesting question, matter of fact. Politics is a very interesting game. Politics is a very interesting game. The left and the right are both a part of a dragon. That dragon is America, and she shall fall. And anybody attached to that dragon shall fall. The belief in the letter of the law will fall. My goal is to build our own world, and for those who seek assistance and those who seek out assistance, especially any of our sisters, they can receive assistance. But I cannot help the dragon itself. You get what I'm saying? See, we live in a complex world, right? And in this complex world, we are not given the grace, right, to truly build with each other, because you have to get to a point where you say F all the moral standards and the hypocrisy that people place upon you in order to really be great and ascend in this world. Because they will try to judge you for everything that you do. And what you have to do is you have to step outside their sphere of judgment to where no matter what they cast upon you, it don't matter. It'll be like throwing pebbles, you understand me, at a giant, and not with a slingshot. And what I mean by that is we are living in a world where, as a creator, as a leader, as an influencer, as whatever it is, there's people who want to see you fail. You talk to one person, oh my God, you're a Democratic shield. If you talk to the right, you've been sold out. And then I think about leaders in history, how they had the ability to form alliances, sometimes with their enemies, to go against a greater enemy. They were able to do deals, but only because they felt it benefited the collective, because they thought as a collective. But we don't think as a nation, and we think as an individual, so we punish anybody for doing anything, right? Because we don't have a collective nation in which we're bringing back things to. Meaning that, let's say you go to the right side and you go get a deal done with them, right? But that was for the benefit of your collective nation. Everybody would agree, you know what, right? I appreciate you doing that because I see a picture that is bigger than yourself. It was for the collective. But when we're individuals, we can't see what the individual is doing because we don't know what we're a part of and how it benefits us, right? And so you're almost not even allowed to move in the way in which you would need to in order to build that nation, to form different alliances, to form different treaties. Because find me a country out here that is righteous. Find me a nation that is righteous, that does not have treaties with some people that are unrighteous. That's the way the world works. You have to be permitted to move across this planet Earth, making the moves you make that will ultimately benefit people in the long run, even if they don't understand it in the short form. But I don't think that no leadership would be given that kind of grace. You would have to be hated by your own people in order to fight for their freedom. So you then are faced with the dilemma. Do I live being hated by the people who I love? Or do I live being loved by those people? But if I live being loved by those people, then I can't be as effective. This is a dilemma that we are faced with because of short-sightedness in our community. So what I thought of is, again, you can do it regardless. And you can just say, forget it. You can live above, right, those cares. You can live above those worries, right? And you have to execute regardless because it's the only way you break the chain. So you have to keep going and keep executing. And then when people have the consciousness and the foresight and the hindsight, rather, they will look back and say, I understand the moves that were being made. That is why most people are hated, leaders are hated while they're living. And it is only hindsight in which you can then look back at their lives and see how they fit into the collective puzzle. That is the human dynamic. And then they can understand, oh, I get what they were doing. But the people at that time couldn't see it because they were too busy being in it, trying to control what those people can do. This is why building your own nation is the only way, because you have a highly aligned community, and therefore anything you do for your nation is correct. You know, you watch the movie, Black Panther. Ice Cube is a good example, but if you watch the movie Black Panther, T'Challa said that, listen, man, I got my nation to worry about. I don't worry about everybody. He said, I'm the king, you understand me, of my nation, not the whole entire diaspora. And think about that. There are African nations to this day that have a lot of money, but you know, we don't have a nation that is doing business with them, right? It is not until like you can be a country like Burkina Faso and then have alignment with Russia because y'all have a common enemy in the West or a common enemy in Europe. You get what I'm saying? And now we can justify all of his moves, even though he started off in the military. And he had a coup, which means that he killed his own people to take over that military. But we can see in hindsight why it was necessary. But do you think he would have got the blessings of the people beforehand? No. You think the world would be singing his praises beforehand? No. They would tell him that those measures are too extreme and things of that nature. You can't work with those people and this. They would destroy him in the eyes of the public if he had not controlled his narrative on social media. Because we have new factors in it. And when the sentiment of the public is against you, it allows the enemy to come get you. It is a much more complex web that we weave today than ever before. It is a much more complex world that we weave today. So the level of thoughtfulness and warfare that one has to apply to lead correctly today is at the highest level that it's ever been. The highest level that it's ever been. So you have to think. You have to think. Then act. And so the best way to do it is find other people who are highly aligned that believe in what you believe. And if they believe in what you believe, then it makes it that much easier when you all trust each other to get things done. The only thing that stops Black America, Brown America, any part of America from doing something is trust. That's the only thing. With trust, you can speed any process up infinitely faster. If I say, hey, give me all the money you got in your bank, I'm about to go flip it real quick, and you trust me to do that, I could then go gather billions of dollars from Black America, then what would happen? We would build something that could never been done before. But instead, what you do is you have to destroy the trust of anybody growing. So what you do is you create an impossible You create an impossible, what's the word? Archetype for them to have to become. When a person has to be perfect in order for you to trust them, that means that nobody can say nothing against them. They can have no flaws in their record. They can have no L's that they've ever taken, right? Like, you have to be perfect in a lot of ways for black leadership. And nobody can actually live up to this. Because there is no such thing as perfect, because depending on who's looking at what you're doing, there's always going to be criticism. But it will be enough if we can weaken the trust, then therefore you will never align with the people that you're trying to help. So therefore, no matter how great you become, they stifle your progress. That is what the enemy does. They run an intelligence program on you, and they see, how do we disconnect your power from the people who believe you? They don't have to do too much, just a little bit for our people, because our people a lot of times don't want to believe in things. We already have a negative mindset because there's so much trauma. So when you understand that and you look at social media, and I see people believing things that I've never done before, and I'm like, how do you combat that? You don't. You run your own narrative, and your narrative has to become greater than the one that the devil put out there for you. Because arguing against a false narrative only makes you look weak. That's not the way to do it. There's a way to respond to everything. There's a way to move forward. So that goes for any of you all out there, as well as you're on social media. You have to have the mental combat skills, because social media is no longer just a place for fun. It is a place where militaries and countries and companies are running psychological operations to try to control the consciousness of the people. They will practice narrative warfare to control the ideas and the stories in which you believe, to shape those narratives and ideas and stories. When you're on here, you have to take a step back and you have to think, is this information real? You understand me? Is this thing that you're looking at on your screen, is it even in alignment with who I am? Who benefits from this? If I believe this information, who benefits from this? Hold on. So I gotta go, y'all. I have a lot of things on my plate right now. I do want to let y'all know, for those who want to see the next seasons of High Level Conversation, let me give you all a breakdown of what we got going on moving forward. So I want to first thank you all that's been a part of High Level Conversations in this journey that we've been on, and how we've been growing. It's been taking a lot of work. It's taking a lot of time. You feel me? For us to put this together. It's been 3 years. We've given countless episodes, traveling around the world for these episodes. We have our latest one, right? That is about getting our land back. And, we've become one of the number one shows in the world, right? And we want to continue to, because media is one of the most important parts that we see playing in the growing consciousness of the people, right? And as having like one of the number one shows surrounding consciousness, right? It's important that we're able to continue to grow, because there is a cost to everything that we do. Since we've been doing this, we put money into PR, we put money into, our tech, we put money into our editing team. We put money into our travel, put money into our space, right? We put a whole lot into what we've done, and we've reinvested every single penny. We've just recently been able to get a few sponsors, right, for like our show. We started our nonprofit Project High Level, which we'll be running some of our production on and some of our events on, right? And, given that we're at this point in time, we want to make documentaries and movies, and we want to be able to combat the negative imagery, the negative media that's being put out there constantly against us. High Level Conversations want to be that space of consciousness that tells the story, that tells our history, that is your space and your source of truth, right? In order to do that, we need you, right? Press 1 if you really enjoy High Level Conversations over the last few years and being able to get them completely for free. It's gotten to a point where the episodes are very expensive to make, the process, the production, the flow, the team, everything. So for the first time ever, we're now are utilizing Patreon. And Patreon allows us to be able to make the documentaries, the movies, the episodes, the behind the scenes, to launch new shows, the 19 Keys, and to even bring you all in, you understand me, to have your name on the shows, and possibly if you have a business, a product, or a service, to even put in your commercials in the shows and things of that nature, right? But this is all about first getting the support of the people so that we can continue. So if you've enjoyed High Level Conversations at all and you thought that it brought value and you think that it will continue to bring value to others, please comment Patreon and join our Patreon, you understand, which is our private community where we're releasing new videos, behind the scenes videos, new shows. This also allows us to be able to fund production to where I can pay people to get episodes out faster. We even want to start doing, you understand me, more consistent on the audio side. So I want to do a daily show on audio, right? You can start in to where you're just buying in at a small level, or you can be one of the people who are one of the real investors and friends of the shows. You feel me? Now, we're going to be adding new levels as we're going and we're learning this Patreon thing, but this is a new journey for us that really sees how the support of the community comes together so that we can push this thing forward. Sometimes we've done episodes to where we won't even get to monetize them because of what we're talking about. I don't want the algorithm to control ever what we're talking about. So we want to be able to freely put this out and give it to the people. We think that it's worth the same, or it's worth way more value than, your Netflix, you feel me, subscription or things of that nature. And we want to be able to give you more to where your children can look at. We want to be able to create cartoons and animes and things of that nature. So if you support what we do, comment Patreon rather. And let me make sure that it's working. Because if it's not working here, then make sure you DM me. Okay, it's working. Wait a minute now. Hold on. All right, boom. All right, so once you go to the Patreon, go to membership options. Right now, there's only one membership tier. So go to the high level tier and go to join. We're going to add 3 more tiers on there as well. So those who actually want to get access to behind the scenes, it also allows some people to be on the show, you understand me, get involved with helping us, things of that nature. I'm going to fix this today because I thought we had more tiers, but we're going to add it to where you can join in on the first tier, which is just at $11 right now. So anybody that wants to support what we're doing and want to watch the recent episode that we just put out as well. And we're going to be adding everything we did in Bermuda as we're going along. We're going to Africa soon. So there's going to be a show of us traveling to Africa. You get access to that. I'm creating a documentary on my life. That's going to be on Patreon. Man to Man will be coming back. That's going to be on Patreon, things of that nature. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all supporting. Make sure you go beyond the free tier and actually join in. You understand me? Even if you just go be there for a few months, however long you're going to be there supporting, it matters to us so that we can create more of this content and we can continue to grow. So our first goal is to get our first 1,000 subscribers. That allows us to be able to launch new shows. That allows us to be able to consistently pay people on the back end. right? So that our team is working harder and harder and harder. I'm going to work on getting today the other membership tiers up instantly. So, you all will be able to join. Now, the bundle pack is so people that want to get caught up on gold, want to get caught up on crypto, want to get caught up on AI, right? Want to get access to our multiple book bundles and things of that nature. You all can get that in the bundle pack. You understand me? And since gold hit $4,000 today, we got it back available for $44. So typically you'll be paying somewhere around $444. So that's an extreme value to you all. So I appreciate y'all tapping in. That will be available for the next 24 hours. But Patreon will be available as we're moving forward. Peace to the family, peace to the God. I appreciate y'all as always. We're working with a lot of companies, and we just want to continue to be able to do this thing. I feel like once you get to a certain point, and we've been doing this for a long time, and this is for all you all that may have companies or may have businesses, you really should think about, advertising with black media, small black businesses, you know what I mean? And if you want that growth, right? So I personally would love to be able to break down your business in the middle of an episode, sit down with you as a business owner. You understand me? Bring you up on the screen when we're having our shows. Bring you up on stage when we're having our shows. Introduce you to the people that I know, right? So when it comes to sponsorships, you can sponsor our nonprofit, which is Project High Level, right? Or you can sponsor our events, right? Or you can sponsor High Level Conversations. This should be able to help with rapid growth, because for those who sponsor over a certain amount, we'll also be able to consult you on your business as well, so that you can take some of the same blueprints and frameworks that we utilize for rapid growth, especially when it comes to content and branding. So, peace to the family, peace to the God as always. I'll see you all in the Patreon, and we're going to be starting adding messages in those Patreon, and it's going to be interactive as well. And I want to hear what type of content you want us to make, and then we will be making that. So join in on the high level tier as we're adding 3 more tiers to come as well. Peace to the family, peace to the God.